So, Sonic Unleashed has been in the news once again, thanks to the very, very extremely impressive PC port that fans have created called Unleashed Recompiled, which is it's a recompilation essentially that allows you to play Sonic Unleashed on the PC. And with this sort of news that just happened, well, as you can see right here, IGN made a nice cheeky tweet about this, saying fans port the much-loved 2008 platformer to PC, and it is a really impressive feat. But the reason why I bring IGN up by here is much-loved and IGN. These two things did not go very well with Sonic Unleashed, so I kind of wanted to go back to their original Sonic Unleashed review, give I guess a re-look at it, because it is probably one of the worst reviews I've ever seen for a video game. It's one of those really crazy ones. In fact, there we go. Someone by right to the bottom is like, time for a re-review. And Mr. James, I agree with you completely. Completely. This game needs a re-review from IGN, because the first one, I don't know how it got past the editorial staff, essentially. Like, if I was in charge and they submitted this review to me, I would have been like, you need to redo it. Because it was one of the most disingenuous and very unprofessional it's one of the most unprofessional and seemingly biased reviews I've ever seen in my life. So anyway, let's just delve on in, shall we? Let's just delve right on in and see what we're getting ourselves into here, shall we? So, boom. God. This takes me back.
There's one thing you should know about Sonic Unleashed before spending your hard-earned money on it. It's a big piece of garbage. Big piece of garbage. That should probably be enough to warn off anybody who's thinking about playing it, but I guess we should talk a little bit more about it, just in case you like to hear this tortured sound of my voice. Indeed, it's games like this that make reviewers rethink their lives. Now, I have a theory when it comes to Sonic games. Someone at Sega hates the Hedgehog with all his might, and he's going about trying to sabotage the franchise with these awful games.
I will give the reviewer credit here about one thing. I don't think someone at Sega hates the Hedgehog, but Sega's management has always been absolute off. It's been absolutely terrible. I've got kind of like a phrase I always sort of say, which is Sonic the Hedgehog isn't successful because of Sega. It's a successful franchise in spite of Sega. That's something I always say, because as much as I love Sega, in terms of like management, they are not great. They are a mess when it comes to managing their projects, but I digress.
This is the only explanation that makes any sense to me. Pretty much every decision made for this game was the wrong one, and
hold on.
Only
Quick time event.
Makes any sense to me. Pretty much every decision made.
It didn't even do the quick time event. Hello?
Game was the wrong one, and Sonic ends up taking more beating than a pinata because of it. The gameplay in Sonic Unleashed is split up into 3 equal parts. There are daytime stages, which are actually very good. There are nighttime stages, which are actually complete rubbish. And then there's also the hub city, where you do a lot of exploration stuff, and that's boring as can be. Now, the daytime stages are actually pretty fun. It's fast platforming that is mostly on rails, and for a brief moment you might actually think to yourself, wow, this is what a current gen Sonic game should be. Of course, your hopes will be brutally dashed later on, but never mind that for now. The daytime sections aren't perfect by any means. The jump button can be fatally unresponsive at times, and it's just a lot of trial and error gameplay that can get a little bit repetitive after a while.
There we go. Now, this was kind of like the point of the review when I originally watched it, and I was like, okay, this critic doesn't know what they're doing. Like, throughout the course of the review, if anyone's actually played Sonic Unleashed, you'll know that just based off the little, like, 1.5 minute gameplay we got so far, you can tell that when it comes to modern daytime Sonic, he's not actually playing the game properly. He's not actually playing it right. He's jumping over the boost panels. He's not pressing and holding the boost button to actually go a full tilt. So he's playing the game at its worst, in its worst way. But if I just mute the audio real quick and then go back, okay? So he's talking about unresponsive controls here, right? And that's kind of like the big thing. Now, he used this sort of clip to try and illustrate the controls being unresponsive, but this is one of the most fucking insane solar clips ever, because there's the dash panel right there on the right-hand side of the screen, okay? So if we move on forward here, now what you're meant to do is just run into this dash panel, and you will automatically get shot to the next platform, right? This requires literally no skill. So he went out of his way to jump, go over the dash panel, into the pit of death here, while saying the controls are unresponsive. That's not a control responsiveness issue. That's just you not knowing what you're doing. And don't get me wrong, I can see many people, their first playthrough, they could actually jump over this thinking that, not realizing that the dash panel's there. They might see pit and instinctively jump. That's a fair thing. But I don't know, the way this footage is kind of like edited together with the review and what the guy's saying, it comes across as extremely disingenuous. It's a baffling thing. What can I tell you?
Gameplay that can get a little bit repetitive after a while. You know, if the game was just 3 hours and only contained these daytime sections, it wouldn't be such a bad thing, and actually, it'd be a pretty good game. You know, I can even overlook the stupid airplane part that they stuck in, which is a rail shooter where you don't actually really get to shoot guns. But see, the problem is, the sun goes down. And what happens when the sun goes down? Well, of course, Sonic turns into a werewolf. Oh, excuse me, werehog, if you want to use the official terminology.
I will say, I don't like the name werehog. When it comes to the werehog gameplay, I'm actually quite positive with it. I like it. But when it comes to like the name werehog, it actually doesn't make any sense, because were means man. So he doesn't turn into like a wolf. He's turning into a fucking man hog with the name. It is something that's... I understand why it's done that way. It's probably because the devs thought it sounded cool, but like it's a silly name.
Now, the reasons why he does this as well, it's not really worth getting into. However, you should know that the game changes completely. Gone is the speed of Sonic, replaced by a bunch of boring, brawling sections. The frame rate's bad, the camera's bad, and the fighting stuff is just tedious and terrible.
I will agree that the frame rate on the original Xbox 360 is pretty bad. And the camera can be kind of janky here and there as well. So that's fair criticism there. I can get on board with that.
As a werehog, you go around beating the crap out of stuff and performing a bunch of really bad platforming sections. Oh yeah, and you have stretchy arms, because, you know, everybody knows that werewolves have stretchy arms.
That's just nitpicking. Like, that's all that is. That's just nitpicking. Who cares? It's a gameplay mechanic. It's fun. I don't see what the problem is with that.
Versus that these stages drag on for like a half hour each. There's no excuse to extend the pain this much, especially since the fun daytime levels only last 4 or 5 minutes. Sonic the Werehog makes Big the Cat look like an endearing character. Yeah, it's that bad.
Alright. I have to say, I never understood the hate for Big the Cat's gameplay. I've never understood it. It's not hard. Almost everyone who says it's horrible seems to say that it is hard. I've never understood it. If you go into the instructions, it tells you just how to do it easily, which is something grabs the fishing rod, you press down. That's it. I never understood the hate for Big the Cat. Is it amazing? No, not at all. But it functions, it does its job, so it's something that I never quite understood with that. But that's not even going into Sonic Unleashed, that's just general Sonic discourse, that is.
Even if there were just those 2 kinds of levels, this game wouldn't be that bad. Sure, you'd have to endure the horrible nighttime levels, but you'd always know that the daytime was coming soon enough and you'd get to enjoy those. However, Team Sonic didn't want to let any slip-ups happen. They had to make this game bad. So how do you make it worse? Well, first, you add completely unnecessary RPG elements. You gain XP for every bad guy you kill, and then you can spend this XP to increase things like Sonic's speed or your Werehog's moveset. It's not so terrible, but it does seem unnecessary. I mean, really, do I need to pay to upgrade Sonic's speed? Shouldn't Sonic be as fast as he can be from the get-go? Isn't that the reason why I bought a Sonic game in the first place? But that's not all. I've saved the best for last. Convinced that Sonic fans don't just want to run really fast and have fun, there are hub worlds. These terrible, terrible hub worlds are where you aimlessly walk around, talk to people for no reason, and collect coins to get to the next level.
Alright, the coins are a problem, but I think he's really underselling the hub worlds here. Like the hub worlds of Sonic Unleashed, they are a nice little break in between levels, I find, and you're never in them for very long. In fact, I just did a whole playthrough of Sonic Unleashed for the PC in my own time, and I must have been in the hub worlds for less than 10 minutes of my entire game time. You really aren't in these that much.
Oh, and you can cleanse people's souls by taking pictures of them. I'm not even joking about that. These
I'm pretty sure that's a common thing in mythology, is like certain spirits don't like their photo being taken. I think that's a kind of like a pretty common trend, so I don't know what the problem with that is. That mechanic, by the way, I will say, is useless in Sonic Unleashed. I never really cared about it, but it's not really. It's more of a nothing thing, really.
subs are a giant waste of time that only serve to annoy the player. And once again, it's just more gameplay that's keeping you away from the one part of Sonic that's fun, and that's the daytime levels. Sonic Unleashed is a classic example of what happens when a good idea isn't left alone. There's just too much fussing that's been done to this once good formula. It's kind of like having a group of 5-year-olds come up with ideas after giving them a bowl full of sugar. Sure, there are fun parts buried inside, but don't subject yourself to the pain. But the best thing I can say about Sonic Unleashed is that it does at least make the old Sonic the Hedgehog games look a whole lot better. I guess that's something. For the full written review, head on over to IGN.com.
And here we go. Here's the kicker. The review score. Okay. Where's the review score? Oh, it must be on the website. Never mind. Okay, well, the review score is like, they reviewed this and it ranked lower than Sonic 06, which is mind-boggling to me. Now, to tell you the truth, actually, looking back at this review again, a lot of the points I agree with. Well, not agree with, but I can see things from this guy's point of view with a lot of the points made in the review, right? It's still not really a well-made review, in my opinion. And a lot of the stuff seems to be more nitpicking, and even in the case of like the Sonic Daytime stages, even though he said they were fun, he did misrepresent them with the footage and basically made it out like the levels and game is just worse than it was, which that's where I kind of take issue with this review. You know, like, I don't care if someone doesn't like Sonic Unleashed. It's one of them cases, you know, if you don't like the game, cool. You know, I can understand. I can see why people wouldn't like this, but I don't know whether it's just how he articulated the review or if it's purely just because of the footage used. But this review has always been like a weird one. It's always come across as like a really disingenuous review where like it came across as kind of like blind hating, essentially. And that's even though he did say in the review there were positives about the game he liked. Even though clearly he doesn't know how to play the game, there are still things of the game that he clearly said he liked. So it's just a really weird one, you know. I wanted to look back at this review because it's a bit of a, I guess you could say, a bit of a history when it comes to Sonic Unleashed. And like this review, oh boy, it didn't help the reputation all that much. Oh gosh. But in terms of like the Werehog though, a lot of people seem to have a problem with the Werehog on a conceptual level, which is something that I've never quite understood. Like this is a video game franchise about a blue hedgehog that runs fast. You know, when I never understood when people make the argument that a game can't do this or can't do that because it's not Sonic. Because like for me, I always felt like the big thing that makes something Sonic and what makes something not Sonic is the style. And if it's stylish and if it's fun, well, it can be Sonic. It's one of them weird things. I've always liked the Werehog. Has its problems, you know. I do have my issues with it, which I do plan on reviewing this game at some point down the line. So if you guys want to see that, stick with the channel. Eventually, I'll get to this. I got a lot of things to go through first, though, so that'll be a long time coming. But yeah, it's a review. Again, I don't know how we got through the editorial staff. I really have no idea how. Because, again, it had good points in the review. It also had like straight up factually untrue statements in the review as well. Like the controls don't work. The controls work perfectly fine. I don't know where that one came from. Maybe they had a dodgy control when they played. I like dodgy controller. But anyway, I thought it'd be a fun little thing to just delve into this. You know, it's always something I've wanted to talk about ever since this review came out 16 years ago. Jesus. Oh, I'm old. Oh my god. Amazing. I can't believe how old this is. And people still bring this review up, you know, like, and again, as I said, reviewer definitely entitled to their opinion, you know, like, I know plenty of people who don't like Sonic Unleashed, and a lot of the reasons are the same. And like some criticism, like collecting medals to progress through the game, I also have to take issue with that. Bothers me with the game. But I don't know. It was just a weird one. Anywho, I thought that'd be a little fun little video for the time being. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you after. Bye bye.